It's time for Spin the SQUEE-L!
Good evening, everyone. I'm your host, and tonight one immortal goblin will risk everything to bring you the biggest baddies Magic has to offer. So without further ado, let's meet our contestant. It's Squee, the immortal. Squee has survived countless Phyrexian invasions, centuries, and the cooking of my brew for this deck to be with us tonight. So Squee, how are you feeling? Good? Great. So, you know how it works. We spin the big wheel, we fling you off into the blind eternities, and we see what you turn into. So without further ado, let's spin that Squee-L! Oh, my legendary lands, it's a Blightsteel Colossus. That's 12, in fact, coming straight out of the warp zone. Someone call an archenemy because Blightsteel Colossus. It's great to have you here. Everyone, a round of applause for Blightsteel Colossus and a moment of silence for whatever's left of Squee. In the meantime, you've guessed correctly. That's right, it's a mono-red Polymorph deck. As our commander, Squee, a legendary 2/1 goblin, can be cast from the command zone over and over again, adding 2 generic mana each time. But that's not the best use of our resources, is it? You see, Squee the Immortal can also be cast from exile or the graveyard, without the command attacks.
That means that if we use an effect such as Transmogrify to destroy him, send him into the blind eternities and wind up in the graveyard, we can simply bring him back next turn for a lowly 3 mana. Just in time to go back into the polymorph machine and become something else.
The strategy is simple. We'll be taking advantage of every single mono-red polymorph effect that targets our own creatures. That does mean we can't take advantage of things like Wild Magic Surge or Transforming Flourish, unless of course you can convince your opponents to target Squee, but there are plenty of effects in these colours that we can use.
Of course, I've already mentioned our quintessential polymorph effect, Transmogrify. This will exile Squee, let us reveal cards until we hit something terrifying, and then put that on the battlefield in Squee's place. Then, we can always cast Squee afterwards or on our next turn from exile. Alongside Transmogrify, there's also Chaotic Transformation, which will get rid of your opponent's problem cards too, Divergent Transformations, which reduces in cost if it's cast earlier in the game, and Luca, Coppercoat Outcast, which not only gives you a repeatable version of this effect, but also gives you a nice finisher with his -7. Some of these effects also come with a body. Dreamshaper Shaman lets you pay 3 in your end step to destroy Squee and get a random fatty, and Fireflux Squad will do the same thing as long as you can get an attack in.
Unfortunately, not every polymorph effect is made equal. Some of these will target the creature and put them into their controller's library. For those, we'll need to send Squee to the command zone and pay that command tax. But what's 2 generic mana among friends?
The classic Chaos Warp, Guff Rewrites History, and Reality Scramble all put Squee in places that you wouldn't necessarily want to find him. Although at least Reality Scramble does let you do it again and again, as long as you've got the lands and mana to cast it.
Finally, there is the old reliable Sneak Attack. Sure, it's not a polymorph effect, but it does get these terrifying creatures out onto the battlefield. And speaking of terrifying creatures, shall we see what we were even spinning the Squee-L for?
Mono Red does one thing very well, and that's dragons. That's why there is a slight dragon sub-theme here. Polymorphing into an Utvara Hellkite, a Skyline Despot, or Lathis Dragon Queen will both grow your board with fire-breathing monsters before Squee even notices he's been sacrificed. Again. Flying alongside these dragons are Scourge of the Throne, Terror of the Peaks, Dracoseth Maw of Flames, and Balefire Dragon, who all do equally powerful things all on their own. Ancient Copper Dragon and Goldspan Dragon are both here too, who will supplement your mana to make sure Squee never stops coming back, and if he does, you can just hardcast all of these other things.
Dragons aren't the only thing we've got though. As you've already seen, our unluckiest contestant did already transform into something slightly different.
Blightsteel Colossus is everyone's favourite way to bring Impact to the pod. Platinum Empyrean makes sure that your life total won't change while you're getting all this set up. And even some Eldrazi are here to make things interesting.
Of course, wizards are always printing and creating brand new giant creatures to stick in this deck, so go crazy and decide what your own prizes for the Squee-L will be. What's more, you don't even have to fully rely on Squee. Since the release of Edge of Eternities, we've got a co-pilot. It's Tannoch, Steadfast Second.
Tannoch is a legendary 3/5 Kavu pilot for 4 mana that says other creatures you control have haste, and artifact cards and red creature cards in your hand have warp for 2 and a red. This means that rather than having to polymorph Squee or pay big mana costs for all these creatures, you can just cheat them out and destroy your opponents that way.
This does mean sometimes abandoning the polymorph plan, and instead just relying on Tanic to rocket into the captain's chair, lock onto the enemy coordinates, and hit him with a full broadside of cosmic railguns. And that's effectively it. But before you go, I've got a few utility pieces just to make sure you're safe and sound.
Blood Moon will lock down your opponents for at least a few turns, giving you the chance to get your engine up and running. Deflecting SWAT, Red Elemental Blast, and Pyroblast will all protect you from any counterspells fired your way, and Gauntlet of Might, Hazoret's Monument, and Ruby Medallion all make sure that you get a discount on your skyrocketing Squee costs. Speaking of skyrocketing costs, to help us ensure that either Squee or a high mana value creature comes down on curve, we're running a full suite of mana producers of all kinds. Neheb the Eternal will give us a red mana in our post-combat main phase for every point of damage we've dealt, and Runaway Steamkin will make sure every red spell we cast adds something to our savings pot. And if Squee does end up getting too expensive to polymorph, the kobolds at Kirkheap are here to give you a hand as well, providing a consistent polymorph target at instant speed.
And that's a wrap for tonight's Payoff. Huge thank you to Squee wherever he respawns. A colossal congratulations to Blightsteel Colossus. I've been your host, and this has been Spin the SQUEE-L! I'll see you next time, everyone. Good night.